If you're trying to grow on Instagram but feel like you're stuck, frustrated, and spinning your wheels, chances are one of these 7 mistakes is holding you back. You want to hit 100,000 followers, quit your 9 to 5, and live life on your terms. But instead, you're trying to post on Instagram, nothing is working. You are at risk of staying trapped in your job, unable to travel, create, or enjoy real freedom. Today, I'm breaking down the 7 signs you'll fail at Instagram. And trust me, if you don't fix these right now, you'll be stuck watching everyone else live the life you dream of. Because I know how you feel. I used to be that guy, until I decided to take social media seriously 5 years ago. And since then, my life completely changed. I grew to over 450,000 followers on Instagram and over 700,000 on TikTok. I'm my own boss, I fly multiple times every month and make way more money than my ex-schoolmates. Now, the question is, how can you prevent these 7 signs from tanking your Instagram account? Well, what would you do if I tell you to avoid drinking tap water, otherwise you'll get sick? Simple. You just don't drink it. But many people might not know that, so they'll drink it and they'll get sick. That's why it's important to watch this video until the end. I helped several creators growing on IG, and every single time someone was stuck, it was because one of these 7 reasons. The first one being probably the biggest mistake that beginners tend to make. Imagine walking into a restaurant expecting to order sushi, but the menu also offers pizza, tacos, and burgers. You came for one thing, but the options are so scattered that you feel like this restaurant might be doing too many things. Not having a specialty makes you think that nothing is actually good. It's overwhelming and it doesn't make you want to return. The problem with us humans, and myself included, is that we have multiple interests. I love photography, social media, tennis, hiking, travel, and DIY stuff. The temptation, especially at the beginning, is to post content about everything we like. We saw bigger creators posting about their daily life and things like that, and we think we can do the same, but that's wrong. Similar to the restaurant, the same goes for Instagram. If you're posting about too many different topics or niches, you're confusing your audience. People follow you because they expect specific content. In fact, they started following you because they saw one post that resonated with them. They found it valuable and they decided to hit that follow button. If you start posting completely different content, they'll stop engaging because they're simply not interested. That's why posting about more than one niche is a huge mistake. When people know what you stand for, they're more likely to engage with your posts, which boosts your reach. I've seen it time and time again. Creators who stick to their niche grow faster, build loyal communities, and see higher engagement, especially at the beginning. I remember that when I first started, I tried posting about everything, like from fitness to photography to lifestyle. But once I narrowed my focus, my growth skyrocketed. The same will happen for you when you choose one niche and stick with it. Now let's talk about the second sign. This one sneaks up on a lot of creators, and most don't even realize it. It's holding them back, and it often leads to completely giving up. Imagine to have a big goal in mind. Let's say running a marathon. Unless you're Superman, you surely can't run a marathon from one day to the next. You need a lot of training, preparation, and a plan to execute all of it in a longer period of time. The race itself might seem exciting, but the weeks leading up to it, like waking up early, pushing through fatigue, and sticking to your training schedule, start feeling like a burden. Every run feels harder than the last. More often than not, you don't want to do it and you find excuses to skip the training. At a certain point, you start to question whether you'll even make it to the race day. And if you make it, you end up not finishing the race because you were not prepared enough. It's the same thing with content creation when every step of the way feels like a mental struggle rather than a part of the journey. It's no surprise you end up procrastinating and not reaching your end goal. If you're feeling pain or stress during the content creation process and find yourself procrastinating during ideation, production, post-production, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's not just about posting content, it's about how you approach the process. Obviously, it can happen to have a bad day and maybe you don't feel like recording that day. And it's fine. But if this happens too often, well, that's a red flag. Creating content should feel exciting, not like a chore. When you're constantly stressed or procrastinating, it disrupts your workflow. lower your quality, and kills your consistency. If you don't find a way to reduce the stress and streamline your process and enjoying the journey, you'll burn out before you even get close to your 10,000 or 100,000 followers. And I've seen this many times. Creators that are passionate start even earning decent money, but the pressure of perfection and feeling overwhelmed makes them dread the content creation process. I've been there myself, and I noticed that the main reason why I was getting to that point is because I knew I didn't have any ideas in the bank. Starting from a white paper in front of you is daunting. That's why I now use the Rose Formula, which is a proven framework that I use to generate unlimited ideas for content. Thanks to this concept, I now have hundreds of ideas ready to be executed. And because this is so important to me, I made a full free masterclass about it. I'm gonna leave the link down below in the description. Once I learned to streamline my workflow and take the pressure off myself, everything changed. The content became more enjoyable to create, and as a result, the quality and consistency improved. The cool part is that the Rose Formula will massively help you with the third point as well. When I talk to people about what I do for a living, I often get a reply that sounds like this. Whoa, I would love to create content too, but I have no idea what to share. I think my life is nothing interesting in it. This mindset can be a serious roadblock, and if you don't break free from it, guarantee it will prevent you from growing on Instagram. Eventually, the box runs out, and you realize you need to go to the store to buy more if you want to keep running and get snacks. It's the same with content creation. You might start strong with loads of ideas, but over time, you'll use them up. When that happens, it's time to sit down and find more. You need to refill your idea box to keep the momentum going. That's where the Rose Formula comes in. I'll show you how to generate hundreds of new content ideas in minutes, so you'll never run out of ideas again. If you're feeling like you have nothing to share, that's a red flag. Every creator hits that point where they doubt their value, but it's important to remember that you always have more to offer. Your experiences, lessons, and unique perspectives are what make you valuable to your audience. Often we don't realize that our viewers are constantly changing and growing. What might seem basic to you can be brand new and valuable to someone else. Now let's move on to the fourth point. Remember the marathon example we mentioned? Right. Imagine you set an alarm every morning to wake up at 6 a.m. for a run, but every day you hit the snooze, sleep in, or maybe I'll go later, which then becomes I go tomorrow. Days pass and your plan to run the marathon goes nowhere because you don't stick to your schedule. Content creation is the same. If you keep postponing or posting randomly, you're never going to see real growth. Just like hitting the snooze button on your alarm, every time you skip posting, you lose momentum. Without a consistent posting schedule, it's impossible to build the habits and discipline necessary to grow. Instagram rewards consistency. Whether you post 3 times a week or daily, sticking to that routine is key. If you aren't committed to showing up regularly, your audience won't be committed to showing up for you either. Consistency is what builds trust with your audience and signals to the Instagram algorithm that you are serious. When I decided to go serious on social media, I told myself that I would post 3 TikToks a day, no matter what, for at least 3 months. And only then I would decide whether to keep going or give up. As you might imagine, the commitment paid off and my life changed completely. If it wasn't for that rigid schedule, I would probably not be sitting here today and I would be behind the desk being miserable with a 9 to 5. Now, there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. It's just that I didn't want that. I wanted my life to be free. I promise that if you keep at it for a long period of time, your life will change. But also, if you want that, the next step is key. It's something that many creators overlook when trying to grow. Let's say you've been waking up every day to run the marathon, but you're not tracking your progress, adjusting your pace, or either reviewing what's working and what's not. You might be putting in hours of hard work, but without checking your progress, you could be running in circles. And when rest day comes, you find yourself unprepared. Maybe you just got better and faster for shorter distances. But when it comes to endurance for the marathon, you might have failed to prepare your body for such a big effort for a long period of time. Content creation is basically the same. If you don't stop to review your strategy, you might be putting in the effort but missing what really matters. That's why regularly reviewing your content pillars and overall strategy is crucial. Without taking the time to look back at what's working and what isn't, you're just guessing. and guessing won't get you to your goal for sure. I'm very much guilty of these too. A couple of years ago, I saw that my content on portrait photography was working extremely well. My numbers were sky high with every single reel I posted because it was just going viral. Obviously, I was doubling down on that, shooting basically only portraits, and I abandoned my tutorials on content creation in general that I used to do before. Well, little did I know that it's super difficult to make money with portraits only, unless you do weddings or corporate photography, which is not what I wanted to do. So I found myself with big numbers, but very much further away from my goal, which was increasing my financial freedom. I wanted to make money, and portraits was not the right way. If I only had considered this before, I wouldn't have made this mistake, which costed me a lot of time and missed opportunities. Now let's move on to a mistake that's very common but often ignored. You ever wonder why your posts aren't getting the engagement you hoped for, even though you're putting in the work? Again, the marathon. I mean, yes, you're running every day, you're following the plan, but there is a problem. You're using old shoes and you have a poor running technique. You might be running every day, but if your form is off, you're going to start feeling pain in your knees, back, and body. Eventually, it becomes so painful that you either injure yourself or give up entirely. The same goes for content creation. If your content quality is poor, whether it's blurry photos, shaky videos, or uninteresting visuals, never be able to grow an audience. Quality on Instagram has become increasingly important. If your photos and videos are crisp, creative, and well thought out, people will take notice and engage. But if your content feels rushed, low effort, or unattractive, they'll scroll right past it. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that you need to get expensive gear in order to achieve these results. Your phone is more than enough, but try to record in a well-lit environment, take care of your background, don't record in noisy places, and most importantly, add value with every single piece of content you make. If you want to create a cool content studio at home but don't know where to start, you can either watch some tutorials on YouTube, or if you want a more structured and immediate approach, check out my home studio blueprint, where I show you how to transform any room in your home into a professional grade studio without previous experience or spending thousands on expensive gear. I'll leave a link down below in the description in case you want to check it out. Instagram is a visual platform. Low quality content not only hurts your engagement but also reflects poorly on your brand. But now I have a question for you. If you need to train for your first marathon, would you start running right away, or would you try to learn about programs, training methods, gear, shoe types, energy gels, recovery, and strategies to prevent injury and improve performance? Well, my guess is that you would pick the second option. So, are you keeping up with Instagram latest updates and features, or are you just using old strategies? If you are ignoring the platform changes like new features or algorithm updates, you're setting up yourself to fall behind. Instagram rewards users who embrace its latest and most popular features, like stories, reels, and interactive tools. Those who stick to outdated strategies miss out on key growth opportunities. Before TikTok, I was posting already quite a bit on Instagram, but with zero growth. Then I focused on TikTok, grew like crazy, and translated my learnings to the newly introduced Reels. I cracked the code, and even today I use Reels in a strategic way to grow my account. I understand that embracing change is difficult and sometimes annoying. I'm actually the first one to complain with constant updates, because one day we need to do this, and then the other day the engagement drops like crazy, and so on and so forth. But ignoring Instagram changes and features is not the right way to approach the algorithm. And right now, there is a feature that not many people use yet that allow me to go viral multiple times and reach insane numbers on my posts, including something like 12,000 comments, 9,000 saves, 4,000 profile visits with one single reel. I made a full video here about this tool, which includes a practical tutorial on how you can integrate it in your account. You can watch it here.